forgot to post my thing. I totally forgot to post it. But hopefully y'all know that I'm here. I'm going to be here. And if I'm not here, I'll let you know I'm not here. All right. I know you couldn't hear me just now. I forgot to turn that up. What's up, folks? Y'all doing all right? I'm trying to put my hair up. Give y'all some time to log in. Make sure you can hear me. Tick. Yes, it's coming through. Boy, I need to get my dreads retwisted. Let me see. I am live this week. It's not pre-recorded. Yes. Okay, good. I'm glad y'all hear me. And if you're watching this in replay, if you're watching it live or watching the replay, you don't have to, but there's quite a few people that come in here and they listen, but they may not comment. I noticed that whenever I was watching it live myself, and it showed me every time somebody would enter the room, it was just like such and such in the room, this one in the room. I was like, there's all kind of people coming into this room, and I have no idea who's coming into this room. But anyways, thank you guys for tapping in and tuning in. I'm going to get straight to this because I think it's going to be worthwhile. I have to make sure I have pen and paper as these things begin to come through. And just in case you did not notice and you just automatically come here, I'm going to show you. Here is today's topic. Right? One of the things that I don't know if we ever really ask the questions, especially when it comes to Bishop Carlton Pearson. I seem to get calls, on the days that I go live, or my family will contact. Oh, I forgot you go live. But Bishop Carlton Pearson originally named his church Higher Dimensions. And I can't tell you if there is, I do know, and from my research, that there are some biblical references regarding higher dimensions. I believe it was the Apostle Paul might have made some reference to it. But it wasn't really a church phrase or term. Higher dimensions is a phrase or term that you would get more from the occult practices, which would be what we consider secret knowledge, or the knowledge that was once only shared with like the Masons and other secret societies, or society with secrets. And essentially those secrets are no longer necessarily secrets anymore. Some of the things that they've tried to teach us, but it would get shut down, are widely still available. But a lot of those conversations still can somewhat get shut down because they'll just wrap it up and just call it the New Age. Next week, we're going to have a guest. Next 2 weeks, we'll have guests, but those guests are more mystics. Um, although they do have a basis or a understanding coming from Christianity, understanding Christianity, coming from Christianity. And so it's going to be wonderful. So you'll notice the trend, and the trend is going to be really dealing with and leaning into a lot of metaphysical teaching, a lot of expanded what I can still consider expanded consciousness. Some We'll of course get into some psychology and philosophy, but what's the goal? As we sit back and we do a lot of things with deconstructing our faiths, we'll visit Dr. Jeffrey Kripal, and he talks about deconstructing reality. It's one thing to look at us and who we are spiritually and say, hey, I've been in this religion and this particular faith, specifically the Abrahamic faiths, who have predominantly taken over the entire world. If you just look at the Abrahamic faiths alone, out of the 8 billion people, 6.5 billion or so are Abrahamic faiths. And so you don't really even get close to getting an opportunity unless you go into the history of each one of those faiths, because it will more closely relate to the Hermetic principles and many other stories that align with those faiths. But one of the things that I find really unique is the mystics. And so if you're not, you can watch this in review 9 times out of 10. I'm going to tell you that if you don't take notes, just so that you can go deeper for yourself, you can watch it in replay. But when you think about religion itself, right? And let's just look at the strongest, most influential faith or faiths in this country and around the world. And of course, Christianity is the world's largest religion. And of course, here in the West, it was greatly used as a way of controlling a lot of thought. Even when you look at philosophy and philosophers, and whenever those people would make a determination and ask questions, they would put their life at risk. I want you guys to track me, okay? And I'm gonna kind of look a little bit at the comments because I want you to track me. So I'm leading this discussion and conversation and teaching, but I hopefully want to open the door for you as you go through whatever you're going through. And we know specifically us folk that have been connected to Bishop Carlton Pearson, for instance, in the expanded conscious community, we have a lot of deconstructing of the Christian faith going on. We have a lot of people kind of asking the question, like, what do I believe and why do I believe that? And how do those beliefs add to or subtract to the value, to the quality, to the understanding, to the love I have for life? I don't even have love for life. I only have love for being a man of God and doing whatever they tell me to do. So whether you're on Facebook or YouTube, understand that there's a conversation going on within the comments. So I got some powerful people within this community. And this is us, right? and we're going to enjoy this experience. But Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, right? I think Buddhism, Hindu, it all depends on culture. Buddhism, Hindu, Native Americans, they kind of have their thing, but it can be blended, just like Black folks can have a lot of hoodoo and African spiritualism mixed in with their practices. But most of that is built or driven by the Pentecostal movements, African American AME, African American Methodist churches date back to the 1700s, right? That's nothing when we really think about the history of Christianity. This is nothing. So we're the African American experience, or American African experience, when it comes to Christianity, we are fresh on the scene. So we're deconstructing something that is pretty fresh within us. We're trying to ask questions and let go of some things that should be somewhat easy to question, or somewhat easy to ponder and say, you know what, this doesn't make sense. I usually tell people, you can't tell me what happened over the last 150 years to places like Black Wall Street. But we want to have a deep conversation about what happened 2,500 to 3,000 years ago. And we're going to skip over 1611 with King James, and we're going to skip over all of the colonization of the canonization. We're going to skip over all of this, in interpretations. We're going to skip over all of that and go straight to what has made us, right? What has honestly brought us money, and what has the whole system. Y'all with me, right? Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. Christianity has the Gnostics. Islam has Sufi. And Judaism has what? I'm looking in the comments. We going through it tonight, folks. I'm looking at the content. Judaism has what when it comes to the mystics? I know I got some backyard scholars with me. I got some doctors in the room. It's the Kabbalah, right? Judaism and the Kabbalah, right? So some of the great pioneers with, the Gospel of Thomas, right? What else do we have? I wore a hat today and my dreads are irritating. We have Remy, our next guest that's going to be next week. She's going to be discussing, and she's done some great study on Remy and some other things. And she was once a pastor, but now she's a whole new person. But I think it's just another part of who we are. We're going to get deep into this, and we're going to get deep enough, and it all relates to consciousness. What I want you to know is where we are going, right? I want you to know where we are going with this. Because here's the thing. The point of deconstructing is not so that you can know who God is. It's maybe a benefit. But I don't think that's the point. The point of you questioning and asking questions. The thing is, folks, that in this space, very intimate space, I'm here to tell you we don't we could talk about the quantum, we could talk about, you know, the universe and what it consists of and black holes, and we could talk about the cosmos, right? But all those are somewhat philosophical, physics, and metaphysical questions. But what's the point? Where are we going? The higher dimensions and the higher self, the things that we the things that we really may not want to know, they're already here. The things that we're really wanting to connect with, the kingdom is at hand. I can reach out and grab it. I like that, Miss Rose. Deconstructing to be free. And I think you deconstruct, and part of that is to feel free, right? Because as Neville Goddard talked about, the feeling is the secret manifestation. It's about the feeling. The universe gives you who you are, right? So when you become a free person, I am free, I'm living free, I am free, and I'm going to begin to act on freedom. And how I'm going to act on freedom, I'm going to be to begin to do what a free person would do. I'm going to begin to act and do what I believe. If I am wanting to deconstruct, I'm going to be a deconstructed person. And if I'm deconstructing my faith, then evidently I got something else that I'm building. There's something else that's already there that's being revealed. That's where we're going. Hear me? That's where we're going. Higher states, or the states that are already here, but we're unveiling our ability to connect. Understand this. The church fights with evolution because it fights with the creation story. The church fights with evolution because it wants to fight with the creation story about who God is. But understand that science and philosophy and the metaphysics allow us to even question evolution. It allows us to question time. And there are now scientists that are becoming more spiritual, and they understand that it's not even about how we were formed or who formed us, what formed us. And it really is the intellect, the intelligent design, the intelligence, the things that you see that are being produced in the world today, like artificial intelligence, is us recreating consciousness, even though it's not conscious. It's just us coming out, right? I need a way to cover my body. I need a way to live. I need a way to cover up. We developed technologies, we developed ways that allow us to function in this world based on the questions and the answers, and then the questions and then the answers, and then the questions and then the answers, and then the questions and then the answers, and then we question the answers. Ah! Are you ready to have your questions answered? But also, are you ready to have your answers questioned? They used to tell me in church back in the day, there's a lot you got to learn. There's a lot you got to learn. The way a church works, there's a lot you got to learn about the way God works, right? We give authority to whomever, right? And then it comes a time and we think like, oh my God, they just would talk to this, they would just tell the scriptures, and church folk would let a preacher up, and the preacher would repeat what this pastor said, and then they would go through the Bible, and then they have the nuances and cadences, and right. And then every once in a while you get somebody that went to school, and they'll come in and they'll speak a little bit more dignified and eloquent, and and still go back over the same bullshit. Let me see how many people in here, because you know what I'm saying. This is for the ECC family, so that we can know that it's not like for real with this group of folk. The way I feel, there's an elevation happening, and you know it. And the higher dimension is nothing we need to reach for. We don't know. We don't know. If you look up things about higher dimension in terms of like from a metaphysical standpoint, those are just technically those are just words. A lot of the things we do are just words, right? And the thing is but it's okay for us to ask the questions and then apply some principles to our lives based on how we are elevating and getting connected to consciousness. And there are ways that you can do it, right? Ultimately, as we come closer to understanding the oneness of the known universe and the known or even unknown world, the oneness, right? The oneness. Miss Marie, you talk about following common sense. Let me tell you, Miss Marie, let me tell you, there is nothing common about sense. And I say that because we look at intellect as basic knowledge, and knowledge could be very subjected down to a specific thing, right? But for those who can create life, recreate life, or create a dimension outside, a dimension inside of life, and control that dimension, y'all tracking? Facebook. If you can create a dimension within this dimension and then control that dimension, how people look and how people look at it and how people will respond to it. Let me tell you, all this stuff is metaphysical, folks, right? And all this stuff can be broken down. And you can actually begin to take advantage of a lot of stuff and bring yourself into a whole new space, right? A whole new space. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. And let me show you something. We're going to explore just a little bit, and I'm going to get to this other thing. And this is a science, and this is a thought, right? Look at this list. Look at this list. And I want you to tell me, I want you to see it, and I want you to understand something. What do these people do? What do these people do? Technology, 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 technology. Larry Page, technology, technology. Steve, he was number 2 to Microsoft. He was a partner with Bill Gates. And Bill Gates is not even on this list because he's been giving a lot of his money away. And the rest, a lot of it is family history. But this technology on this list controls aspects of the world, right? They control aspects of the world that's created within the world. And then you use their services or their technologies. It's all metaphysical. All that stuff is deeply spiritual. And the thing is if a person has any level of understanding the control that exists, but just also understanding the spiritual aspects or the metaphysical aspects in terms of how do you be in the world, look at yourself, and create your reality? How do you be in a world and begin to shape your life the way you see it or the way you know it is to be within the oneness? We're going to take a few minutes. I may not work through all of it. I'll make sure you guys have the link. I'll post the link so you can look at this. This is a really intriguing and interesting chat. And we'll listen to about 3 minutes of Dr. Jeffrey Kripal as he talks about the oneness in consciousness.
People in my world, at least since William James and probably earlier than him, people like Frederick Myers and way back, essentially argued what was called the filter thesis, or what we call the filter thesis today. And this essentially says that the brain is certainly mediating these states of consciousness, but it's actually not producing them. And so what you want to look for is instances in which the brain is being shut down, because then other things can flow in. In a filter thesis, the brain is a filter. You're shutting most things out so that you can eat things and survive and reproduce and in a kind of Darwinian sense. And so what you want to look for is when does the brain shut down? And of course, psychedelics is a great way to shut down brain processes. Meditation is a great way to shut down brain processes. Car wrecks, lightning strikes, you can go on, but every instance of this shutting down the brain is probably going to be traumatic to the person unless you can integrate it into the ritual of the system, which is I think what meditation is.
Hold up. There's something I want you to get, right? And this is something that I've been dealing with, and I've been writing and doing graphs. The filter thesis, right? Think of your brain as a filter, right? And you get told everything that is within that reality that has levels of truth within that reality, or it could be ideas or ideologies. And the crazy thing about it is, as we collectively believe it and live it, all of a sudden it becomes even more true. It's stated that we're trying to figure out how the pyramids were created. But according to the filter thesis and everything that has to be filtered or has to be understood, is all of a sudden we begin to quote unquote dumb ourselves down. You keep messing with me, Miss Marie, and the common sense that you're talking about and the deconstructing and the everything else that everybody else is doing outside of this space, because there are spaces, don't get me wrong, this is not super unique, but it is sort of unique when it comes to the people that comes from the ecclesiastical and the church spaces, because a lot of the divine churches and a lot of the mental science and a lot of the mergers of science and spirituality was shut down, still shut down, right? Because the filter thesis says that if you have your brain, right, your brain is here, pineal gland and all the different things and functions we know what to do, it could be shut down. And when you're deconstructing, it's basically you're just imagine you got a filter, right? And your brain is looking through your eyes, and your eyes are receiving. And as your eyes receiving, seeing is believing, right? You're filtering it out. And there is some truth to it, because one of the laws we have discovered is the law of gravity, the energy and the law of gravity for the human species specifically, because we know we can't and don't fly in the sense of gravity and in the sense of this state of being or consciousness, right? If we do have the ability to fly, right, that would be a metaphysical, no, that'd be a physical millionaire within this dimension. But why do I need to fly in a physical dimension whenever I know I can possibly fly out of my body? It's even greater, and it's even more possible or probable. There you go. I love it. I love it, Dr. Joe. Ooh, I'm about to bring you on the stage. I'm about to, y'all better listen to Dr. Joel, because he's going to really relate to this, because his background and his understanding is what we call material sciences that are is another word for proven. But we understand the material sciences when it comes to the body and what the body does and how and what affects the body as we play within that space. And understanding physicians are practicing, but their practices are more perfected depending on the level and the connection to what they're wanting or what they are experiencing. You cut open a body and you will find out, right? Depending on if it's alive or not. But the consciousness and who we are is being filtered through the brain. And so when you think about deconstructing, you're going to be looking at, okay, this was a problem here, religion. This was a problem here within this religion. You can simply go back to the mystics, right? And still learn and still be able to identify and still be able to carry on with certain aspects of just understanding what really happened from a metaphysical standpoint outside of the last 500 to 1,000 years ago, right? 500 for sure, but that 1,000 years. And if you go back before 1611 with the King James, and you keep going back just enough, the early baby stages of of the way a lot of these things work, I believe, were way more open, and it was way more understood about consciousness and how it was normal for us to use higher levels of consciousness, the higher level of consciousness and dimensions that we're seeking to bring to us, because we think in that consciousness and we think that consciousness is expanding. I'm here to tell you, I promise you, consciousness is already expanded when we don't deal with time. It's already done. So your filter, boop, 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 the brain consciousness is not in your brain. Your mind is not necessarily in your brain. I would just consider that possibly a memory mechanism. It's something that pulls it in and it stores it. It stores certain things, right? Supposedly, like, and it's more of functions. Okay, here I've seen them cut open a brain and a guy play a violin, and he's playing it with his brain cut open as they are going throughout his brain and messing with certain functions. But with Neuralink and with Elon Musk, like that list there's going to be things that we tap in and tune in that we can go and we can expand, and it's going to be freaky. It already is freaky, but guess what? I'm here to tell you, from religion to higher understanding the higher dimensions that Bishop Carlton Pearson, he had already set it up, right? Before he even started, he called it higher dimensions. He was already headed in that space. The consciousness where it's expanded. Everything is going as planned. How do you fit, or where do you fit within this this state of being, right? it's time to take the filter and understand that I'm just here and I know I may have this trauma. Remember, he said there's traumatic events that occur. So I'm here to tell you, you might need to be a little thankful for your level of trauma that may have been caused or you may have felt from the church if you sit here and listen to me because you're no longer there in that space.
So I think it matters a great deal. What I'm trying to say is it matters a great deal how you understand the relationship between brain and consciousness, or brain and mind. And I think the reigning scientific model is certainly the production thesis. And so when the brain shuts down in death, guess what? Consciousness just blips out like a light bulb, because the material base has ended.
Right.
But in Elizabeth's view, and I think in Whitley's and in a lot of these experiences, that actually doesn't actually end consciousness. So clearly consciousness is not dependent on brain processes. Clearly it's something else is going on. And that's where this filter thesis comes in. And you can call it transmission thesis, you can call it all kinds of things, but it's essentially a different understanding of how the brain and the mind are related.
Is this connected anyway to Chardon's theory of the noosphere?
Yeah, Teilhard de Chardin.
Yeah. Teilhard is his first name.
Yeah, Teilhard. Probably. I mean, so I know a lot about Teilhard. I can tell you funny stories about Teilhard de Chardin too. He was a Catholic paleontologist who had basically his view was that God worked through evolution, and that the nous was this sort of cosmic mind that was going to develop, in the future when human beings were more integrated in some way. And so he talked about the noosphere, and some people have connected this to the internet and, have kind of gone in that direction. It's really not what Teilhard was saying. He was much more interested in evolution as a kind of mystical process through which God creates human beings and eventually consciousness and eventually this sort of nous cosmic mind. Right. So I would say that most religions have a filter thesis. In other words, they do not understand the body as producing mind or consciousness, full stop. Most traditional cultures see the soul or the spirit as somehow independent of the body and the brain. And so when the body and the brain dies, the soul or the spirit does not. Now, again, that's open to conversation. I don't have an answer there, but I think someone like Teilhard, who comes out of a Roman Catholic mystical tradition, definitely was working with some kind of filter thesis, although he would never use that language, and I would never impose it on him.
Yeah, it's interesting when you think about this sort of like unifying consciousness, like this noosphere, and yeah. Basically, and do I have this right? The idea is somebody like across the world can come up with this crazy new idea, and at the same time, like somebody on the polar opposite of the planet will have the same idea, right? Like somehow we're all connected in this sort of layer of consciousness that envelops all of us.
Well, so a lot of religious practice implies this. So, for example, if I were to, I'm not a religious person, Danny, but
you're not?
I'm not. I mean, not in a traditional way, but
you believe in God?
Yeah, I do actually. We could talk about that. I'm not. I'm framing this though in a particular way.
Okay, sorry.
It's all right. It's all right. We can go back there.
Yeah.
Let's say I were to pray for you.
Okay.
Follow.
Well, that ritual implies we're connected in some way, and that I can pray to this deity who can then somehow impact Danny's life. I mean, there's a kind of trialogue going on there. There's a kind of triangle there. But also in a lot of psychical experience, somebody wakes up in the middle of the night and says, "Oh, grandma just died." Now they know instantly.
Right.
So clearly there's a connection there between the loved one and the person who wakes up. Well, what is that connection? What is going on there? And so that's the kind of, one of my colleagues calls it coherence. That's a kind of, Barbara Newman's her name. That's the kind of connection that is so deep it needs religious language to describe it. And I think a lot of the reason I invoke prayer is it implies the same thing, even if people don't talk about it. If you're praying for someone, then you're connected to that person. You believe on some level you're connected to that person, and that your mental act can somehow affect physical events, which is a remarkable thing, Danny. If that in case is true,
right? So why, being a person who studies religion and has dedicated your life to religion, how could you not be a religious person?
I knew you were going to come back to that. It goes back to the taking everybody seriously thing. If I sign my name to a particular religion, it means I've locked out all these other people. And so it's not that I deny religious views. In fact, I think I believe everything, Danny, which means I believe nothing, because the religions exclude one another. Well, I can't exclude other people. I just can't do that, because I think people are innately, inherently religious and have these experiences, and I want to take those experiences as seriously as I take my own experiences seriously. And so I can't fall back and say, I'm this or I'm that, because in my own mind, that doesn't allow me to live with and take these other people seriously. So it's not that I often describe myself as the most religious person I know, but I don't actually have a religion. Not at least one I can identify.
What do you think God is?
I think God is us. I think we're God. I think, but not Danny, but not Jeff, but we tap into some greater reality, that we call God in the Christian or the Jewish or the Islamic traditions, but that other traditions call other things. That you don't have to be theistic or personal about it. There are religious traditions that acknowledge that other greater reality, but don't turn it into a person or a God.
God is us. Can you expand on that?
So let me put it this way.
I'll end after this.
If I experience an alien and it looks a lot like I do, my inclination is to think it's somehow me that I'm projecting to deal with. I'm dealing with my own greater self by having this kind of experience, and it looks a lot like me because it is me. And I have never ever heard about an experience of God that didn't come from a human being. Ever. Okay, my dog does not talk about her experiences of God. Okay, nor did many of our cats or any animal. I have only heard experiences of God from other human beings, which leads me to think that there's something really human about God, that God is somehow this deeper self or cosmic mind behind or within humanity. And it's not that Jeff Kripal or Danny Jones is God. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that we tap into and we exist because of this greater life force that lots of people have chosen to call God. And I'm like, okay, call it God. That's what you want. But other people don't call it God, Danny. They call it a whole bunch of other things. And I'm like, well, that's true too. That's your experience.
Deep breath in, release. The breath is spirit. Breath is life. Right? And make sure you guys go back and review some of the comments, because it is important that we all come and understand even perspective and being able to be open. Within the meta, we allow for people to be able to express, even those that are religious. We allow for them to be able to express it's not just their opinion. It is also their expression. It is their experience. It is their life. It is who they are, right? Kripal is someone very special because not only his history, his book, Superhumanities and the Flip, I want to get deeper back into some of the study with you guys, but the whole goal has more to do with where we're going and not to do with what we've been through. If you keep trying to go back on what we've been through and then you're trying to figure out so many different things, I promise you'll deconstruct way faster and you'll get to where you want to go if you start working on where you're going. If you start working on the reconstruction of who you are, because you already are who you are, especially within the higher self, within the higher dimension that's already here, right? But you got to begin to know who that is. And if you know who that is, and that is somebody that is already knowing, that is somebody that has already moved into a higher place of understanding, right? Now I have to move into my open heart desires and begin to see those things through. The filter thesis to me is very important because you got to understand this thing. This filter says I'm a black man from America, masculinity, femininity, dreadlocks. Dreadlocks means spiritual. Beard means this, Rastafarian, like all these filters. And you begin to believe all these filters and you live all these filters. And then guess what? It is what it is, just like gravity is what it is. If you jump out in front of a bus, then your masculine, black, dreadlock ass is probably gonna die. Unless you are already moved into some state of awareness or state of consciousness, right? A state of being. I would suggest that you really look at moving and being into more of a spiritual plane of who you are and to begin to move outside of understanding just this body. Overall, I just want you to know this. What if everything you've ever been taught about things like the divine? What about things as in the nature of this reality? Excuse me. The nature of this reality. Is it the truth or is it the fraction of truth? Common sense. I believe to not believe in anything that would be common when it comes to sense after I begin to see what Donald Trump can do. No, that's the spirit of Bishop Pearson right there that just came over me. Think about how much of what we truly know about when we say God. Do you believe in God? And the only and everybody's term of God is really this unified God that's in America specifically, because we're the loudest people. We got marketing and we have commercials and we have everything that we get to design when it comes to God. But think about how much we know about God, the universe, and the place within it. And has it been really shaped by the limitations of especially religious doctrines and traditions? Has it even been somewhat shaped by certain levels of material sciences? We already know that. And those material sciences are at least a little bit more, a lot more effective when it comes to productivity in this given world. I'm going to a doctor. I'm going to see Dr. Joel. I'm not going to go see Dr. Dorothy if I wanted somebody to check my prostate. Sorry. I'm sorry. Just a little few laughs, but it's for real. Like, what's the difference between a medical doctor and a Jeffrey Kripal, a Dr. Dorothy Parker? But for centuries, folks, religion in specifically has been served as a guidepost. It has served as a way for humanity, especially here in this country, to make sense of our existence. This is the thing that you have to understand what's going on with the filter thesis, with the brain as is getting this level of pure consciousness, right? And while it has given us a lot of frameworks, right? There's a lot of frameworks in it. There's a lot of values. There's a lot of rituals. There's a lot of things that we have found ourselves constructed by with these systems. My daughter is going to, and she will go to transformation with a friend. And the things is like what I experienced in my heart. And then she posted something on her phone with trans, and it's cool. Like, but what's crazy is the peer pressure now that a person can get in a school. This is, where do you go to church? It's 2024. Where do you go to church? Oh, you need to go to church somewhere, or you can come to church with me. It's so cool. It's so fun. They got lights and they got smoke, and you better do something to get a 13-year-old up in there, become a social media star. No pun, no nothing against Michael Todd or any other church, but the thing is, it's still the same system, right? It's still religion, and in many ways, it has become a doorway and a gatekeeper, limiting to the full expression of who we are in our spiritual nature. Because let somebody go in there and start talking like I'm talking, and it's going to be either occultish. They don't even know what the occult is, and they don't even know what New Age is. They don't know what the Theosophy Society is, or Rosicrucian. They don't know any history of anything to do with anything spiritual besides one thing, and that's God and the devil. Today, I want you to take down the walls, and we already are. And it's now here. When you come over here to this family, we want to explore what lies outside of these boundaries. We want to look into the realms of higher dimensions and the expansion of the awareness, the consciousness that is pure and open as we bring it in and filter. And what we are doing when we deconstruct is we are actually taking either filters off, moving things around, because the world that we want and desire is already here more than we want to come. It's just more of us have to do it in a collective sense. We're exploring the possibilities that are not just a physical, but it's multidimensional. It's capable of tapping into realities that transcend our current understandings, folks. You feeling it? You feeling it? The evolution of human consciousness. The evolution of human consciousness. Since the dawn of time, I would say human beings have sought connection, have wondered and wandered and asked the question, like, WTF? Like, what the heck? What the heck? And then, people eating stuff and dying, and things are chasing us. But the intelligence, it's not just knowledge, but the intelligence that lies within the cells, within the mind, within the body. Our body contains a higher level of intelligence. The body is not the computer, but the computer is the body, or the life coming out of the body. We're not being replicated in the sense of human beings as being computers. Like, you're like a computer. No, the computer is like a human, besides it not being consciousness. Human beings are creating something that's within them that's like them. We have a storage, we have this, we have that. And then they create it and put it outside of the infinite intelligence, the intelligence that's within us as we begin to expand our consciousness. Spirituality, I believe, was really raw when you go back, as I was talking to you about the Gnostics and the Sufis and the Kabbalah. There was a rawness to what we had before we moved to the level of being able to use that rawness to formulate ideas, to experience. A lot of computers and that stuff was created on psychedelics. You heard Kripal talk about it, and I could go throughout history. It was somehow some alteration that people in experience that they had to get an understanding of the other dimensions, but not only the other dimensions, but how do I pull those dimensions into this reality so that I can change the fabrics of my life? I can change the way I feel, the way I look. We figured out that we need to go to a gym or we need to work out. Just a simple little workout can help us. Just a little consistency of getting up out of the bed can actually help you change your reality. You know, as civilizations grew and religion began to take shape, I believe the direct experiences of the divine were very just systematized. A lot of it was organized, and a lot of it was just turned into doctrines because of the fact that we lived in systems and systems work and people follow systems. We wouldn't be able to do what we do if we didn't have systems. Over time, religion, though, evolved from being a path to something and becoming a hardcore institution. And within that institution, it really began to tap into levels of psychology, and psychology leading to psychosis. And in those psychoses, they begin to do things to individual people. And when is it that you want to get somebody into a religious system? Like literally, they think, oh, I want to keep you out of the public school and I want to put you into a Christian school. I want to keep you out of the general population and I want to make sure I give, because it's giving you a good education. But really, the way that system works, it is 100% a system that's designed to keep you limited into who you really are, the God self. A lot of times these institutions were used for community and structure, right? We developed music, we developed all sorts of different things around it. In the African or African experience, it was something that gave us something that belonged to us that we get to have. And the way we expressed, the way we did it was something that was ours. That's the reason why it's really hard for us to let that go, because it's a feel good. It's also, you know, an expression. It's the Africa instead of the do is you know what I mean? It's still an expression that really relates to our African. I want to see somebody create a praise or a praise dance that's not to do with the church, right? That's what I'll be doing with some house music sometime. Is because it's a rhythm, and music and rhythm and beat has a lot to do with the frequencies and vibrations, really, and energy, right? That's one way that we can be put into a spell or put into a space, right, where things begin to change within our bodies. We have, you know, the structure and the community and the things. Those things helped in the institution of the government, right? They still want to use a lot of it, but then they want to dogmatic and they want to take it the way they want to take it so that we can really control a lot of people. It is one of the main things that limits the full potential of your spiritual growth and even your growth within your personal development, even science, right? It will try to refute levels of science. There's a lot that they want to offer answers for. But there's a lot also that they want to do when it comes to defining the questions that we're even allowed to ask. And you may be in the comments, but I'm flowing in my notes, and I'll come back to it. Just think about this. Think about this. Think about this. How many times have you been told this is what God is like, or this is how the universe works? And you know it's only scratching the surface. Belief and religion specifically, it can be a real beautiful thing. You got to think about some of that. Some of it was real beautiful, but it also is the thing that keeps us from exploring deeper truths that are way far beyond the doctrines. So far. And even at the core of what it is, at the core of what it is the beginning. It's just enough to get your appetite wet. And then the government has given you, those people, the ability to say, you go here to get your spiritual growth, right? There's no merger in between. It's time for us to explore infinite possibilities. It's time for us to go beyond. It's time for us to be able to tap in and tune in and turn on something that's built into us, the divine intelligence, that we can begin to shed a lot of our old ways of thinking and understand that we have abilities to do things beyond our beliefs. But the way we're going to get there is to realize that I know there may has been some traumas in our lives, but we need to use those traumas as elevations. We need to use all of our experience that we've been through, not to just detest it, but to say, I know what that is for my life because I know what I feel now, and here's who I am now. Let some of us people, right? Let some of us people who talk all this, let some of us who are in this, let some of us continue to grow and can have some successes in life. Because the church keep a lot of people based on money. And based on the feeling that they might get some money, or based on the feeling that they might get some freedom, or based on the feeling that they might get some relief from the suffering that is continuous in that space. We understand that there is not just the physical side of life, but we understand that there is a multidimensional space. There is things outside of us, but specifically things that are within us that gives us the ability to connect to something, right? That can give us the, I would say, the iteration of this to come, right? The superhuman, the superhumanities. One of the words that's coming to my heart now, and I think about, and I've said it, and you've heard me say it before. It is spiritual autonomy, but also the Christ consciousness. Christ consciousness is just a way, the Christo, it's a way for me to identify, especially from a Gnostic or mystic level of understanding of what would have been possible to the caricature that we have depicted as Jesus, or as some of the ancient texts would say, Yeshua, right? And but that individual in that time frame being represented as a level of consciousness, not as religion or how we've been taught about anything about who that person was, but just to think of it as an individual in an era, in a time that may have had some level of enlightenment that is going to carry on for centuries. And we still talking about this dude. Still talking about it. I believe when you go there, it can transcend a lot of the religious teachings as we go. You can get into the Gnostics and talk about where he's been or where he went to, but I'll tell you, there still can be something there for certain people that can help bridge them over to understand that this consciousness has always been here. The Christ consciousness is more about understanding that the divine is something outside of us, but also within us. And it's about realizing that each one of us has the power to connect within the universe and the divine ourselves. There's no intermediaries, there's no systems, there's just pure unfiltered connection to higher dimensions and divine wisdom as we break through the filters. This is where we're going. Let's you could go study deconstructing. You can help do whatever you need to have done when it comes to deconstruct. But follow me in the sense that when spiritual autonomy comes in, all of a sudden you get to reclaim your spiritual power, move away from the dependency on any institution and step into your own authority. And if you do it within community, because we still deal with things like narcissism, or we still things with human behavior, right? Because I could do this teachings and then tell you to come and sip on this potion. No diddy. Y'all better stop fooling with me. We don't need to wait on religious leaders and people to keep telling us about what we need to believe in. We don't need Malachi to tell us. I'm just here as not just a guide, but a person that's experiencing something with the ability to yap, as my daughter would say, with the ability to speak and love research and be around people like Carlton Pearson or Miles Monroe or whomever I else had the gift of being around that were really good orators. But now's the time, y'all, that we have the power to experience the divine through our practices, our inner reflections, our transpersonal exploration. That gets into science, that gets into psychology, that gets into spirituality. This is what's happening today. You can call it a spiritual awakening if you want. But I know for a fact people are beginning to realize and understand something for sure, that a lot of these old systems aren't working. Governmentally, a lot of science is being questioned because we have changed a lot of the science. And we know for the fact spirit and spirituality has been checked and questioned because the church system and its magnitude they're dropping daily. These buildings and churches are dropping daily, and they're going to have to turn into something else because we still somewhat need not institution, but it's okay to have discussions. It's okay to have some level of community and connection and openness in the exploration of our existence, and not kill people at the stake for asking questions. People are going to tap into expanded states of consciousness. connecting to the higher dimension and experiencing new levels of spiritual freedom. Marriages can be changed, relationships can be changed, finances can be changed, your experience and expression can be changed. You can let go of a lot of things and know that these things are here to possibly distract you. This is not about rejecting religion. It's not about rejecting religion, but it's just talking about going beyond it. Why do I need to reject it? That's duality. I know there's something there. There's something that has been there, and there's something that hasn't been there. There has been little taste and feelings of a lot of the things that I'm talking about, but there's a lot of limitations based on the way it has been formulated. It's about expanding our consciousness beyond belief. The systems that have been in place, the direct experiences, and the greater awareness of who we truly are is what's going to tell the tale. So the questions is like, so where do we go from here? You keep doing your things that you got to do, but understanding there's things on this earth, everything, even little some things like exercise, getting up, even little things like, and it's not little. The more you meditate and deeper you go into your meditations and meditation practices, all of a sudden, folks, I promise you, especially if it's true levels of meditation, and I'm not talking about like people that do meditative practices. You can go mow the yard and it's a meditative practice, or a therapeutic practice, or something that, you go into a zone when you do it. A lot of meditation I'm talking about, that when we start talking about altering the the brain or the experience in who you are, it's really more about the silence, about the letting go of that moment, and being in a space that you can let go of time for a moment, let go of of the existence of the body just for a moment. The closer we get to that, where we can feel pure consciousness, the infinite potential that is within inside you, awakening the new realities that are multidimensional in your beingness, and the higher realms of consciousness that you can achieve. Oh my gosh. As we step forward, y'all, let's just move beyond the confines of things that we've been taught, and that's what we're here for. Let's embrace the vast multidimensional reality, and let's begin to continue to explore who we are. Explore who we're becoming, right? Because guess what? They say the universe gives you who you are. Manifesting who you are. So the point of your deconstructing has more to do with what you're letting go and what you're filling out, what might have been wrong. But I'm here to let you know that there's something that's already here waiting for you, and you can have it now. It's already here. A lot of times it's found in the silence. Sciences are not medical practitioners. They talk about how we don't breathe correctly. We don't breathe deeply. Just to take in a full deep breath. is taking you to another place within consciousness. There's a breath that you can do, that you breathe into your lungs or the stomach or the diaphragm, and then you breathe into the chest. And you can feel it in the chest. Everybody that's following me right now, I want to show you something. Listen, I want to take you somewhere real quick. And I want you to breathe in your stomach, your diaphragm, and then breathe in your chest. And I want you to let it out your mouth. And I want you to do all this in with just your mouth. And it should sound like this. Keep doing it. You're going to start losing yourself. All of a sudden, the DMT, the chemicals that's in your body can begin to work inside your body. You do about 10 of those, 20 of those, and you might feel like you're going to pass the hell out. You're not. These experiences are things that we must do and things we must learn in order for us to understand what's already here, what's already within us. Tradition will show you that there's a lot of things, the yoga practices outside of just what we have done in America, capitalize on it and all that. I'm not dissing it, but I'm telling you, those are things that have been around ancient, that we understood. Every time you go to bed, I want you to stand by your bed, and I want you to go into the silence, and I want you to end the day, and I want you to enter into that consciousness, which is a level of unconscious. It's the closest to death outside of an NDE or dying that a body could actually experience as things begin to recycle and things begin to shut down, and you become a new person cellularly. I believe every 7 years, our bodies are continually shedding off old cells and converting to new ones, right? It's an ideal that it's 7 years, but they say it's not accurate. I'm here to tell you that you can speed that process up. Connect to your body, connect to the space around you. Connect to the consciousness that is here now. Sometimes I touch my heart, And I breathe from my heart, with my heart open. And I breathe until I can feel the peak of it. Sometimes you can do a Kegel, right? If you don't know what that is, look it up. Just be careful as you start going a little deeper and looking it up, because it's going to get really. It's not. I'm teasing. You can't. Contra. It's beautiful. Deep breaths. Sensually, sexually, being able to connect to our higher self, more of who we are, going beyond the filters. Just silence for me. In the space with you guys. I know some of the principles that I may speak of may resemble or have a polarity or similar to things we may have experienced in church, especially as Pentecostals. But we can tap in and tune in and connect to something within us and begin to heal ourselves. And I believe we can help heal each other. As Kripal was saying, there would have to be a oneness if I can pray for you. Feel it. But I want to let go within myself of everything. Begin to see you also. Begin to heal you through healing myself. So if you're with me right now, you may too. Feel free, feel connected. The divine is here and within you. Thank you, Dr. Joel. Most likely I was not close enough to the mic. I'll be in my space. Thank you, guys. Love you so much. Love you, love you, love you. I know that lasted a little bit of time, but I appreciate you. And I thank you for tapping in and tuning in. I love the comments. Thank you, Dr. Joel. He had some great, I really appreciated you, sir. You had some, if you guys get a chance, go back through there and look at some of his comments. I'm going to bring him on the show. I think I need to do some shows with him because of our connections and his experience. I've always had physician friends in my life as we talked and go through things, especially when it comes to the body. I know quite a bit about, I had a physician that I was mentored by, about a lot of different things when it comes to the human experience and body. Thank you. Thank you, Miss Gwendolyn, Miss Rose, everybody. Send some heart energy. One day I'll do a talk on heart energy. Send some heart energy. Contact me tomorrow. I have something for you. Thank you, sir. Yes, most definitely. Here we go. Uncle John Thomas. He's the community uncle. He like that little wild hair community uncle. The future me is looking back at me now, because in the no time of now, which is eternal, the vertical now, not the horizontal now. Listen, he's getting all quantum on us. He's getting all quantum. Hey, I love to see your face, your name, and you offer so much, so much. You do and your spouse are both amazing, amazing, amazing. Well, I mean, as it keeps going, I guess that's what's going to happen. It's going to happen. All right, folks. Miss Marie, I wanted to recognize you. Thank you, brother Ryan. Yes, yes. Good to see you. Good to see you. Man, I'm telling you, some of the stuff we be doing over here, you gonna love us, bro. You go look about. I'm pretty sure you may have seen some of the other topics, but the thing is when you come here, man, you get to see people like Miss Marie, and you get to see people like Miss Deidre, and you get to see people like Miss Gwen and Miss Dorothy, Miss Marie, Miss Dorothy here. Like, man, there's so many people here that are just, that's so special to me. Bishop, Archbishop from the man, I'm gonna have to prep peer pressure, because he is such a dear friend, and I just want you guys to be able to be blessed with some of his divine wisdom and history of how there's so much that has been missing to me in terms of understanding what we were already doing. A lot of people were already doing it throughout history. Thank you, sir, for tapping and tuning in. All right, folks. I didn't keep y'all here until 10 o'clock. I appreciate you dearly. Over the next 2 weeks, we're going to have some guests. And next month, I plan on announcing something as time goes by, and just pushing forward, folks. I'm pushing forward. The parts that are not easy for me are the parts of overcoming my own seeing. You got to first see. I know multiple people that are dealing with other people in relationships that especially high energy, narcissistic kind of relationships, meaning that people want to have your power over your mind. I mean, there's some whole mind games, right? And so being able to break free and understand that, and you've been living in that world, or being the person that is abusing or the person that is doing that to someone. You will possibly be doing that, and you don't have the slightest idea that you have a deep-seated, rooted mental issue. You may know some things, but how deep it is until that world starts crashing down on you. Much love. Y'all y'all rest well. Come back. Know that I am coming back next week, right? Next week, we are coming back. Miss Carol Lawrence. Something I had already planned. And after that, a real cool mystic teacher and author on Amazon. That's going to be some powerful conversations right there. Powerful conversations, things that can change your life. Love you guys. Y'all take care. And I appreciate you. And don't forget to like, share, and I like your comments. Much love. Peace.